Get the video going. Recordation. Let me turn up Okay, welcome. For the people that are new, my name is Kelby. I am the executive director, founder of His Advocates SSM, or self-supported ministry, based out of Orange County, California. Bringing home for you Californians. I appreciate your guys' time. We have a program called the Living in the Private. We help businesses pull their revenues into the private. We help people remove their obligation to the IRS, remove their jurisdiction from the United States, and become citizens of the United States of America, which is where they should have been in the first place. There is a difference in law. We're coming out with a book this week, What It Means to Be an American. I'm going to ask for your guys' help. Let's get it out. Let's get it out to the masses. It'll be 99 cents for the first few days, and then it's going to turn to $17.76. I'm going to ask that you guys buy as many books as you can, please, and send them out to your friends and family. It will be a catalyst for all those things that you thought you weren't ready to be able to explain to people. We explain it, and we give all the Supreme Court rulings and all the love and all the fight and the story behind it. I'm noticing my screen's flickering just as you guys are. I'm gonna have to not look at it because it's gonna bug the crap out of me. So I apologize about it, but I don't know what is going on. It says my connection is excellent. I do know I had to go get my computer fixed and I brought it back today, but I had this my first live stream, so I haven't been able to test it. So maybe it's the camera that needs to be plugged into a different place or whatever, but I can't do it right now and test. Hey, that's good. Jenny, you're on the right track with crypto. We're going to be talking about crypto tonight and the what ifs and the would have, could haves, and should haves are going to be out there clawing at the door, just like we are about Bitcoin back in 2012, 10, 11, 12. All your friends were like, hey, dude, this Bitcoin is real. And it's you can make a lot of money, and it comes from this Shitoki Nakamori and decentralized. It's all BS. It's NASA created, 100%. Not NASA, excuse me, NSA. Um, if you were to sound it out, it'd be NASA. But NASA, NASA, is the liars organization that is continuing to suck money out of Congress for things that they know are. Uh, I'm just saying, did we ever go to the moon? Oh, am I one of those conspiracy guys? I wouldn't call that conspiracy anymore. I wouldn't. I'd say there's some pretty stupid footage of them trying to show what it looks like to be an astronaut hanging from a wire going through a black stage room like this, trying to move his cord around. I mean, come on, guys, stop. 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 They're now saying that we don't have the technology to go back to the moon. Yeah, because you got to get through a dome, baby. Maybe I'm just saying. I don't know. I'm thinking out loud. What is my definition of dome? So look, I don't mean to go conspiracy on everybody up front, especially when I'm talking about living in the private, but for sure, living in the private is not a conspiracy. And for sure, our founders were not United States citizens. And that's really the elevator pitch. When everybody asks, well, what are you doing? Are you like a sovereign citizen? No, it's not about being a sovereign citizen. It's about just being what our founders were. Our founders were not United States citizens, and we have this excellent opportunity to become real Americans again. And you should consider for yourself, because being a part of this global corporate structure masquerading as if they're all countries is not something I want to be a part of. I do want to be a part of the greatest nation in the world. And I do want to be a creditor, just like God has asked me to be. And I do want to come out of any system that does not glorify God. So therefore, I'm going to take the stance of what an American is, and that is a state of the Union citizen. And it does matter. It does matter what you donate your dollars to. And no, there is no functional law or Bible that says you have to pay taxes to the federal or state governments. And there's no law that says you will forever be a United States citizen. And there's no law that requires you to pay homage to a corporation, even if they threaten you with IRS and coercion and all of that. Have I met a lot of people that have lost everything they've owned? Yeah, a lot of people before they come to this ministry. And a lot of times it's because they do things wrong. They're set up structurally wrong. And it's a sad thing, I don't really have a good comment for them. They don't know what it means to be an American. They want to fight the system, and they have every heart and desire to win this good fight. And unfortunately, they should have started with jurisdiction. They should have created the same kind of structures that the rich people create for themselves, and bypass taxes. And why? Because it's illegal and you're able to do it. And therefore we use the same laws that the elite uses for themselves, only we put it on steroids with state citizenship. So um I've been proud to introduce that to the people for a long time. I've been proud to be um kind of like the front runner of it, the spearhead of it. Uh and at the same time, I've had to say goodbye to a lot of friends. I've lost credibility in some areas, and I've gained a ton of credibility in other areas. I think this book coming out is going to settle the matter for a lot of people. And it's going to become an indisputable thing that what we are doing is inexistent in law, and it's going to be one of those things that grants us the ability to um, you know, come out of that structural system. So just bear with me. I'm going to ask for a lot of help from you guys this week when we launch this thing, and it's coming in the next few days. So bear with me. But please help. And if you can, and you have 20 or 30 friends, buy them the book. It's 99 cents for the first few days. Just buy them the book, ask them to read it, and ask them to come on down and check it out if they want any further information on it. And we'll be more than happy to talk to any of your friends. And if any of you guys want to be affiliates out there, we're offering a commission for a referral. And it's an opportunity for a lot of people to side stream income. There's also the ability to people that want to come on for podcasts. We have podcasters that earn a revenue stream from having an interview with us, and they get a referral fee um, for doing so. But at the same time, they also get help and structure. So we can help them get on His Advocates TV network, which is something we started 5 years ago. So they can have their own YouTube channel per se, or channel on His Advocates TV. They can do subscriptions, rentals, pay-per-views, anything they can do over there and more. They can't do a lot of the rentals and subscriptions and all that stuff. Um, but they're not going to get blasted off once they get to a big number. They're going to be able to stay the course with us. We just don't want hate. We just don't want discourse. Say whatever you're going to say. I love opinion. And I even love opinion that I don't agree with. So long as you do it in love and respect and you honor the other person's opinion. That's really what it's about. It's going to be a community of people that have dialogue and let each other speak their piece. I'm not going to agree with every believer that's out there, and I'm a believer. But I'm going to let them speak their piece, and they're going to let me speak mine, and we're going to have great discourse and great dialogue and put good podcast content out there, and that's the way that it is. Um, we were doing these Q&As about every 2 weeks, and now we're doing them every week. The purpose is sometimes, and you'll hear some questions that are going to be asked. Sometimes you can't respond in writing to get a clear answer. So we're going to address the questions here. Some of the questions have been addressed many, many, many times, and don't take it personally if I tell you it's been answered, and we'll try to get you direction and support for your answers on a previously done Q&A. But it is what it is. This is one of those things where we're going to try to get every question and answer pertaining to living in the private address so that we can develop a great knowledge-based system for people that in the future, we're just going to point them to videos that will directly answer their questions so that they can go, okay, great, thank you so much. And it's very detailed. So if you're going through the living in the private and you paid for the service, you have a ticket. You can ask your question there if you're not feeling like you're getting your question answered. We will get them addressed here. And sometimes there's nuancy stuff that needs very specialized stuff to go with it. It might be an LLC, it might be how to structure a business with licenses, it might be whatever. And then we do offer consultations and we do charge a fee for a consultation. Every man is worthy of a wage, and we absolutely help anybody. Now, the fact for us being doing this now for going on 15 years and no complaints and nobody with hiccups, it speaks volumes. And it's because there is the real thing of operating outside of the jurisdiction of the United States and inside the jurisdiction of the United States of America. And just being private as a private citizen, as a private man or woman, you're able to do that. Chiropractors, they either are a doctor or, retired financial services or active financial services. There's always those conversations that are difficult to have of what to do. We deal with those conversations. And there's one thing that your mind requires of you having a license, and there's a whole nother thing where you can use private structures that you contract with the living man and not the license, and you have all the ability in the world to contract with anybody you want for any service you want. And there just needs to be a clear understanding between the parties, and that's basically how it's done. A dentist did not have a license in the 1800s. They were just grabbing that tooth and yanking it. Now it's a licensable requirement per se if you're in the public, meaning you have a public front door, public business, and you put up all your licenses in the front office area. Well, guess what? You can do a contract with that individual in the private, have them come through those doors, and they're a part of the private membership association. They agree and waive all their liabilities. They understand there's a license on the wall. They waive their right to do business with the license, but do business with the doctor who's performing the surgery and or what have you. Um, and it happens all the time. And that is a God-given unalienable right to contract. It's developed within the Constitution. Two men's rights to contract is the highest form of law there is. So that's pretty much it on that. That's why we do these Q&As, so we can get specific on answering questions for people. And Jeff, I'm sorry, I can't help but moving back and forth. I will try to stand as still. Nope, look, it just happened again. I'm still. And anyway, I'm doing my best. I'm trying to keep still. Let's see. Oh, there's another flash. Maybe it's the background. I don't know. Maybe it's the background. Maybe. Nope. There it is again. I'm in a blurred background. There it is. I think it has to do with the camera. I moved the camera to a new port on the back of the machine. I mean, I can easily unplug it right now, but I don't want to shock the world. All 15 or 35 people between 45. Well, 45 people. I don't want to shock the world right now. We're just gonna have to put up with it. And my apologies. Um, the book will be in digital form. You'll be able to download it. It'll also be in physical form. You'll have to purchase it. The digital form is uh that's okay, Jeff. I don't mind you not watching me. It's kind of creepy if you as a full male were just intently watching me. But no, I appreciate you listening anytime. No, no offense taken, Jeff. Uh, it's not going to be an audible. Um, I It's a good question, Rhonda. I should read the book in the audible. I've thought about that. It's a time thing, but it's a short read. It's about 90 pages, good size font, so it's a short read. You can get it done in a day. Um, I'm working on it. There's a lot of things I'm working on, but this book is going to be, in my opinion, it's going to delineate really truly a an industry of people that don't understand how to explain it, don't understand how to have that few minute dialogue, just be able to hand somebody a book, explaining it, showing it, and teaching it. is going to be a huge deal. We even show the actual cases where it talks about the two citizenships, the federal and the state. We show the case is where it talks about you as a US citizen. And I had this argument, it was hilarious with ChatGPT. Um, how as a 14th Amendment citizen you lose your rights. And ChatGPT straight out just said, no, you don't. I introduced the case to it. And I said, "Oh, really? Break this down." I said, "You internet troll, you just why don't you do a little more digging than just the internet and the rhetoric of the NSA and the rhetoric of the FBI? Why don't you do a little bit more digging for yourself and find the truth?" And ChatGPT actually conceded and said, "You're right." And it broke down the case and it broke it down exactly like a federal judge did because it read what the federal judge wrote, I'm sure. But the bottom line is this is gonna delineate a lot of that sovereign citizen BS that they state that they have never defined in law, and it's going to give us an opportunity to have real dialogue and content. We're also going to be appearing on about 12 podcasts over the next couple months that will be to launch the book and to get our information as his advocates out there. You're going to initially find the book on Amazon, and we'll send out links. Just become a member of hisadvocates.org and make sure that you send a text to Freedom at 855-452-0499, 855-452-0499. Text Freedom to 855-452-0499. That way, when it's ready, we'll send you out a notice and you guys can quickly purchase it while it's cheap and then send us a link. Um, yeah, we're going to send you a text link same way. Correct. All right. Crypto. It's a beautiful thing. Payments to the United States start August 1. Payments within the United States start August 1. That's Friday of this week. That's going to be the next bump. You'll see a bailout on Friday, and over the weekend, you'll see, in my opinion, a pump. Um, XRP, to me, is the global reserve payment system. I'm not just jumping on a bandwagon right now saying this. I looked about 7 years ago at this, and I saw the opportunity that I lost in 2011 or 12 with Bitcoin. And it's very different when you know that you've gotten in front of this and at $3.13 right now, you can easily get in front of this. XRP, there's 100 billion of them. There's only 3 billion left. XRP, the company, is the largest holder of XRP. Ripple is the name of the company. Ripple is doing a deal right now on the back end with the United States. Legislation is passed. Ripple is considered the only currency out of every cryptocurrency in the world, the only one that's passed the test of the SEC. Ripple is um, the only one ready. They have 67 licenses worldwide with different countries, 11 pending licenses. They just applied um, 2 weeks ago to be a bank in the United States. They also applied to do the payment settlements, um, which is a different license for the stock market. Every payment, every asset of this world has been digitalized. Every security of this world has been digitalized. There's about 8 different currencies that they're all a part of this. They all do a little something different. They're what's called ISO 20022 compliant currencies, meaning they push a same messaging format. Every bank in the world has been required to um sorry Every bank in the world has been required to be ISO compliant, ISO 20022 compliant. Domestically, every country in the world, domestically, within its own structure. This thing is bothering me. I'm going to track the camera, pull it from the plug. You're not going to lose me. Everybody hang out. Just give me a second. It's bugging. It's bugging. Let me see. Forgive me, guys. I'm just going to nail this out right now. Hang tight. Hang tight. Trying to move the camera. All right. There we go. Okay, so I moved it to a different port, not going through 15 different ports to get to one port. All right, we should be good. Hopefully we have no flashes. All right. I haven't seen a flash. That was just some computer electronic interference. Anyway, I just switched the USB ports. I'm glad that went over well. Okay, so Ripple, I've been touting this for a long time, so this isn't a position I'm picking up right now, guys. This isn't one of those things that I'm just trying to say, hey, I'm learning all about this with you guys. No, I've invested heavily on this. And for me, this is one of those things where I know every element of this that you can possibly know, and I probably study 2 to 4 hours a day on the matter. And every time, and I mean that when I say that, I'm probably studying 2 to 4 hours a day on this one topic. So I want to make sure I'm right, and I want to make sure we're not being set up. Here's the variables. Really, I hear the cryptocurrency is the devil's money. Um I hear that it's promoting one world order, it's promoting this, that, and the other. And guys, God bless you, man. I really appreciate the sentiment and the thought. But the last I checked on a dollar bill, you were promoting the world order, so it's like if it's not gold and it's in your wallet, you're doing the same thing. If you've got a bank account, you're doing the same thing. So I appreciate what you're saying, and I get what you're saying, and I don't want to be a part of something evil, but we can take what is really done for evil, maybe meaning if that's the intention and the where their brain is and the creation within their mind, and we can use it for the glory of God, right? We don't need to worry about whether or not hold on, let me deal with this. Somebody keeps asking to come on, and I am going to lower their hand. And so when when somebody um when somebody starts investigating this element of evil versus good, the whole world belongs to Yeshua now from a legal, lawful standpoint, paid by the blood, Revelations 5. And again, I don't want to go down a biblical approach with you guys, but to understand why we're able to do what we're doing, and why, from a spiritual standpoint, the world is what the world is. There's really nothing you can touch in this world that the devil hasn't put a marker on, and or some ownership principle and or some twisted, plot process ad, and the dollars are one of them. So let's not go down that road. Let's buy the brothels and turn them into teaching centers or churches or homeless shelters. Let's use the crypto, the dollars, and or gold or silver, whatever your means, and let's use it for the glory of God. And let's not have that debate. Um, because I'm not going to have that debate with people. I know any Christian or anybody that's out there. Um, I can truly prove that the money that you are donating to the federal and the state governments are going to fund organizations that have helped the removal of children, helped the disappearance of children, helped a world elite, meaning your money that you worked, the sweat equity. Not only is it the physical dollars, but it's your sweat equity is going towards child rape, child kidnapping, pedophilia, murder, you name it. And this is why God says what he says in Revelations 18:4. So instead of us condemning other people or each other, let's work on coming together using the tools that God has given us to combat the evil in this world. We can use the digits, the dollars, the gold, the silver. We can use the brothels. We can use all of it, and we can flip it around for the glory of God. We can take our own sweat equity and stop paying into the La Cosa Nostra, the largest gang in the world. And it doesn't matter who's running the gang. There's a certain structure that's in place that you can't get around. Now, I know 5D chess, everybody wants to think Trump is this, that, and the other. But he's going right into the playbook of the oligarchies, the technocracies, and this pulling, and it's already been legislated now, guys. We are not going to have a dollar within a couple of years. You are looking at a cashless society and controls at different levels. But what they have done and what they're putting together, trust me when I talk to you, there's tech conferences that have guys that are out there that show you how to still be private, move money around privately, and because they don't want to, they don't believe in that crap, and there's always a digital backdoor. There's always a way to be private in this public, very public world. So just know that, and just know that we're here doing this together. We're going to figure this out together, and we're going to get the gains, and we're going to utilize the gains for his glory, for his honor, not for our own personal gains. And we're going to see how many people we can help, and how many people we can free, and how many people we can free from the dumbs, and so on and so forth. Remember, 750,000 people a year in this nation disappear, and it goes somewhere. And that's something that really isn't publicly being talked about. It's on the FBI website. They're not being recovered and reported as recovered on the FBI website. And the marshals, the people who go after those kinds of things, are only reporting a few hundred a year as being recovered. So, um, something to very much consider. And it was that recent movie on child pedophilia that actually reported it and brought it out to mainstream. It was the first time I ever heard it from somebody else other than my own mouth, where 500,000 kids in this nation disappear every year. 500,000. And here's the sad reason. And the movie said it, and it was horrific. You can sell a kid 20 times a day, but you can only sell a bag of Coke once. That's horrific. But that's the mindset of this twisted world. And that's really what billions should be doing, is to hire mercenary teams to go down and gut the guys that are doing this to these kids and free the kids. And that's really what needs to happen. We need to be figuring out how to use the funds for the glory of God and do God's work through these funds, and not argue about what we're trying to do, why we're trying to make money with crypto, and all these odd questions. There is no clean money. Thank you. It is what it is. And what we do with these hands, and what we do with this brain, and what we do with this heart that God has given us is all that matters. That's what you will be judged on. And God's going to give you the things of this world to either enrich yourself, or to help the people that really are in need. And I, if a few $1 billion came across the table, I would really have to go into some fasting and some prayer. I really wouldn't know where to start. I mean, I have some ideas regarding his advocates, of course, and freedom, of course, but I really wouldn't know where to start. There's nothing more than how do I interview guys for, underground warfare? That's not maybe my job. I don't know. Maybe there's tactical teams out there ready to go. They just need funding, they need resources, they need whatever. I don't know. Gotta gotta open the source. That's all I know. Um, what is happening is something that's never going to happen again. What you're seeing right now, that's going to completely change the map and scope of everything in this world, is a new currency system. And you're seeing a few currencies that are going to make it all the way to the top. They're going to 100x. Some of them are going to 1000x. Some of them are going to 10,000x. That means the value of them today will be worth 10,000 times the price of what they are right now. I don't, it's not, it's not that it's like a personally held belief. It's now become math. And yeah, they could trick us 100%. But they have to. Imagine if you got a bunch of thieves sitting at a table. Can you imagine this? Hold on a sec. This is why they have to create these standards. It's just like the real mafia, the real La Cosa Nostra in this nation. Bunch of guys sitting around at the table. They gotta stick to the rules. If you don't stick to the rules, no drugs, don't rat, you pay your tithe to your cap and to your godfather, whatever. If you don't follow the rules, then you're a dead man. That's kind of how these guys work at the very top in the banking system. They're just the real La Cosa Nostra, the real mafia, the real hardcore, the families that are it's and here's the theory, and it's not so much a theory, but there's 300 family members that are a part of a committee, and there's about 8,000 enforcement, millionaires, multimillionaires, and billionaires that are enforcement for those 300 family members that are a part of the committee that rule the world. And if they don't have a rule system set up between, can you imagine them all hanging around the fire pit at the Bilderberg Hotel, And if they don't have these rule sets, then any family can do whatever the family wants to do. And unfortunately, making deals isn't going to work. So they have to have rule sets. And a part of one of their rule sets and how they're going to manage the flows of money and the controls of the world and the people of the world is the way that the money moves and how it can become trackable and traceable, and that's the ISO. So they've got about a half a dozen, well, more than that, but there's about 9 companies that are ISO compliant. 6 of them I'm divested in, not personally, but through foundations, and I truly, truly, truly know that they all have to go to certain levels in order to meet the requirement of the dollars and digits moving all over the world. And the one that's featured is Ripple. Ripple's the oldest. Ripple came out of the NSA. Oh, I said it. Go look at the CTO. Okay. Go look at who he is on LinkedIn. Okay. There you go. NSA. I know Bitcoin came out of the NSA. I know the patents for Bitcoin are NSA patents. I know Shitoki is probably not a real guy, but there is a real name, and I can get into the real meaning of what that name means. Central Intelligence Agency. That's what that name means. Shitoki Nakamura, whatever. That's what the name means in whatever it's Chinese or Japanese, I don't know. So go look this stuff up, and you can't make it up, And so whatever that means to you and whatever you're going to do with it, I know that the patents that are held for the encryption that was created, SHA-256 for Bitcoin, is owned by the NSA. Do with that what you wish. Know this. My lowest holding is Bitcoin. I won't do Bitcoin. I've seen too many billionaires that are promoting Bitcoin that are part of scams where their people lost $7 billion. Yes, there is a guy out there that's promoting his Bitcoin financial strategies, and he keeps promoting, but he lost 7 billion of his investors' funds in 2003. What a perfect screwball to put at the front of this. And then you watch them talk about how, yeah, I don't want to get into this one. Yeah, I do, but I don't. You watch them talk about Bitcoin and the creators of Bitcoin, like Scottie Pippen and that guy, I don't want to say his name, who has that company. We're on a stage together, and Scotty says, yeah, I've had Shitoki Nakamura, whatever his name is, over for dinner. And that guy looked over at him like, there's no way you could have him over for dinner. He doesn't exist, kind of a look. You got to look up these things, and everything is always said for a reason. You got to find these interviews, and that's really what we found is there's a bunch of missing transactions. There's about 3,000 missing transactions from the start of Ripple. Again, Ripple's the oldest. Ripple's the biggest. Ripple's the only approved currency. Ripple has all the licenses, all the fintech licenses, excuse me, globally around the world. And Ripple's now going to be a bank in short order. Ripple will be able to move and settle all monies for all banks worldwide. And in order for Ripple to do that, listen, if you were to take everything in the money that moved all around the world, if you were to take all that money that moved all around the world, and if Ripple were to only get 1%, which they're already slated to have, and they have already slated way more than that in banks using Ripple. American Express, Visa, MasterCard, Bank of America, Wells Fargo, United Airlines, all of Japan Banking, EU, Federal Reserve, all are being talked about. The order that just came out from President Trump, all payments will be made through crypto, but brought into a modern way of making payments instead of being done through a checking. We're just going to remit the payments electronically utilizing crypto services. What crypto services? Ripple. We're here. At 1% of the payments moving around the world, if Ripple only got 1%, that would put XRP at 900 and something dollars. So if they get 10%, it's at 10,000. People were saying there's no way Ripple could ever get 10,000. Now that people understand the way that money moves, it's a matter of a mathematical certainty. So you're at $3.12 right now. Go. You have no excuse why you can't download 3 or 4 different currency exchange software apps on your phone and buy the crap out of XRP. There's no reason why. There's no reason why. What his advocates does is we teach you how to make sure it's protected, what to buy, how to buy, and hold it in reserve. And we don't teach you necessarily the fine art of getting it on your cold storage, but we have people that we're associated with that do a phenomenal job, that don't ask for your keys, don't ask for your passwords, don't ask for anything, to teach you how to get the crypto on a cold storage device. Like, for example, I've already talked about this with my VIP members. I am not going to travel to any foreign country with my phone that has a wallet attached to it. As a matter of fact, the phone is going to be completely shut off when I go through the customs and TSA and or whatever. There's no way that I'm going to allow for any of my personal information to get scanned or what have you, because it won't be there. I won't have it with me. Okay. Anything that I do is done in the private, and I do not share the techniques of what I do, how I do, but I tell you what you need to look out for. There's vultures out there saying you shouldn't keep your crypto on cold storage or hard wallets, and that is a complete and total joke. They're either doing it for the views or they're doing it for the governments or the corporations trying to steal your crap down the road. Period. There's no reason that you should not have your stuff on cold storage. But this is the first and probably last time in our lifetimes that we're going to get such a massive wealth transfer handed to us by making choices of purchasing certain cryptos and keeping it secure on cold storage, and then giving the knowledge to your children's children on how to keep it safe and tax exempt, not in trusts, in foundations, not something that has beneficial interest that has a taxable event, not in something that's attached to a death event that has a taxable event, in structures that allow for you to hand it to your children's children's children. It's kind of like being a Rockefeller. Look at what they do. They do foundations. They do trusts inside of foundations. That's what we do. So there is coming this massive overnight. There are people that are making millions of dollars in bets. And unfortunately, you know, I would never bet against what I'm about to say because it's just a mathematical certainty. But it could be that by year end, you're looking at somewhere between, and on a very low basis, $50, and on a high basis, $2,500 per XRP. It's very real. There's things that have to click into play. There's certain things that need to come through, but look, guys, just get up, do whatever you got to do, tell your family about this, have them do their homework. And even once people start doing their homework, you're going to find there's still naysayers like I was in 2012 with Bitcoin. I'm not making that mistake again. I'm just not. I'm going to be every much in front of this as far as I can so that I can make sure I'm transferring the wealth to my children's children. And but I'm also going to do probably something that most families, it's very hard to train up children, rich children, or people with a ministerial mindset. It's very hard to give that, pass that on. I was looking at Chuck Smith, the founder of the Calvary Church. Love the guy, godly guy. Um, the second he died, um, yeah, Glenn, there's not 60 trillion XRP coins. There's 100 billion. That's it. And they're going to run out of XRP coins. Chuck Smith, the second he died, the church basically fell apart, split. So you can have the best of the leadership in the world. And this is why you have to develop structures that people have to obey in order to do the wishes of the structure, to receive any benefit or be a part of it. All right. So we're going to get into some questions right now. And I'm going to do my best to answer them all. Just bear with me. I'm going to read them precisely as they've been asked, and I will get through all the questions. I'll answer this one real quick. Is Caleb and Brown still a viable option for us to buy crypto? After my contact there left, my application stalled. Yeah, they are. Um, I like him and don't like him at the same time, only in that they make it hard, meaning we've had hundreds of people go through and get processed. I would just say spend your time, get a few different ones set up. There's a lot of them out there that will do a foundation in the private, and they just need you to address the where did your money come from kind of a question. Caleb and Brown, a little expensive, but they're offshore, perfect kind of a scenario if you got it set up and you don't want the paper trail and you don't want to deal with you're a US citizen and you haven't done your state citizenship paperwork. It's a perfect scenario for you. Next question. My brother is having a baby in November. We've heard terms like birth certificates, but also certificate of live birth. We've heard specifically about signing the line that labels you as an informant. What are your thoughts whether or not the mother should sign this? Would refusing to sign simply give us the official documentation of the child? As the father, he's trying to seek good information that's the best interest of the child. Anything you can pull or from help to clarify this? Great question. Listen, okay, so hospitals, they're part of the structure, they're a part of the system. I believe personally there's a dual accounting that hospitals have. They make money in producing the live born record, and getting the mom to sign on as informant. The father doesn't sign the live born record, and the state picks up the child as dad, kind of a thing, puts it in the public, puts it on 32-pound watermark, banknote paper, all that. So look, hospitals are complicit. If I were to have a kid, I'd do it like my friend just did. His third kid, he was able to perfect the process. He did 100% of it at home with a midwife. They are creating their own title for the kid, for the child. Sorry to my brother. I didn't mean to call your child the prodigy of a goat, a kid. Um, but in the event that you're going to be doing it at a hospital, um, I would not be signing a birth certificate or a live born record. Uh, Anything you're doing with the hospital, they require a name. If you don't give them a name and you've already given them your name, your information, your date of birth, the hospital is, in their mind, obliged to send to the state the live born record with the name Jane Doe on it within a period of 5 or 6 days. So if you haven't given them a name, then you may or may not have to later come back and revisit that and change the name legally. Um, so there's a lot of issues with that. You can sue the hospital for doing such a thing when you didn't sign the paperwork with the hospital. There's ways to be admitted to a hospital without signing the paperwork. And those are all a lot of variables that need to be thought through. But if you can have the child at home and get around the birth certificate, don't worry about getting a passport or identification. I've helped children with no birth certificate receive a passport, and they're free. And that's important. All you need from the Secretary of State is a letter of no record. And we get, something you do directly with the state, and you're golden. The letter of no record, along with what we do, will get the child a passport. Um, Refusing to sign, a part of your question, here's the variables that I've seen happen. I've seen people just walk out of the hospital and nothing happened. I've seen people walk out of the hospital and social services shows up. Um, I think the hospital is wicked in a lot of different respects, because they're playing the game, and they try to use the enforcement of social services and the theft of your child for not signing the birth certificate paperwork. I have not seen anybody lose their kid for not signing a birth certificate paperwork. Social services does not have permission to take children for that. What happens generally is you're going to have some doctor or somebody some nurse make a phone call, and they're going to come down, and you're just going to be polite and nice and organized and just say, no, we're not doing that. And they're going to make some threat, and you're going to ask for their full name. And there's things that you can do to, reverse the threat on them. People cannot be forced or compelled to do any kind of agreement they don't wish to do. And you're not putting any child at risk by not getting a birth certificate. Okay. And just know that there does come a point, and that these are the areas that they utilize, like the two contracts that are super important that we reserve all of our rights on, or we don't do at all, is the driver's license and the birth certificate. Those are the two. And those are the two ones that they use the enforcement arms of social services and the local law enforcement. Like if you don't drive with a driver's license, who's gonna pull you over and treat you like a POS is law enforcement officers, because they believe that you should have a driver's license. I'm not saying you should or should not. I don't know of any law that compels you to. I know statutes and codes that compels you to. As a matter of fact, I do know of law that says you do not have to have a driver's license to operate a motor vehicle. So, law enforcement, you may have a statute, but we have Supreme Court rulings that say different. So, why do you have conflicting things? It's because that's how they play the game. So, to answer your question, it's an indirect. Make sure that you have your birth plan, your born plan perfected, that you give your born plan to the hospital. If you want to see a copy of a born plan, I'm sure we can give you as a VIP member for his advocates a copy of a born plan where you execute that born plan. The hospital agrees or disagrees, it doesn't matter, but this is what we are doing as a family. This is our goals, and they execute upon that. They may have a different opinion upon certain things, and we don't make those arguments. Okay, we just execute what we are trying to do, and you be extremely nice. Look, these guys, they don't understand why you don't want a birth certificate. They don't understand why, you feel the way that you do. They don't need to. They just need to execute the way that you want. And if they're operating outside of that and they're trying to compel you into an agreement, you just say no. And you hold firm and you stop worrying about what somebody's opinion is, and no, they are not going to take your kid. Next question. Operate a personal snow plowing business under an LLC for plowing driveways. It's a good little venture. I bet you're pretty hungry though in the summers. During the winter here in MN, my brother and I operate an entertainment business ran under an LLC for live shows and local entertainment. We have our private foundation set up. Do you see any reason why we need to keep paying the LLC renewals for each year for our businesses, or can we just operate both under our foundation name without question? So, the second part of that is, would we need to file a DBA for our operations? So, um, LLCs sometimes are required from a standpoint of doing public venues. They're not required, but in the opinion of maybe the person holding the venue or that owns the venue, they might want to see an LLC versus a private foundation. To me, it really doesn't matter. But in the event that they do, I'd make the foundation the primary member of the LLC listed on the Secretary of State. And I would want you to go to hisadvocates.org, look in our blog section, and search for the term disregarded entity. And that's straight from the IRS website. Because what it's suggesting is that any LLC where the sole member is a foundation, the LLC would become a disregarded entity and not have to file a return anyway. That would also imply that the cost of the LLC from a renewal standpoint may not apply. For me, it's whatever, an extra few hundred to $800 a year. It's not a lot to pay to be able to be above reproach in the eyes of the public. It's 2 cents. It's up to you. You know, I personally don't have any public entities. I can function with payments, payment systems, merchant accounts, bank accounts, you name it. There's nothing I can really do or not do. I can go rent facilities under the name of the SSM or a foundation. I can have seminars. I can have, whatever. There isn't really anything you can do under a foundation. That's the flip side of all of that. Okay, next question. Hey, I'm needing to write a referral letter for my daughter and son-in-law for the immigration status to USCIS. I am being asked to state my citizenship and submit ID that I have the letter notarized. Okay, so first part of your question, you're not going to compromise your status if you say I'm a citizen of the United States of America. There's no compromising status, and give him a copy of your passport identification. Done and done. A citizen of the United States of America is a citizen of a state. Okay. A citizen of the United States is an employee of the United States and has obligations to the United States because that's their employmentship. So you're not compromising status. Would signing a certain way be good? Yeah, I mean, I'm always going to sign non-assumptive, all rights reserved. I'm always going to use a very small fine print, um, non-assumptive, all rights reserved. I'm going to stamp that underneath my signature on documents. I'm always going to reserve the rights. That's super important. You don't need to worry about saying I'm a Floridian, I'm a Texan, I'm a Californian. You don't need to worry about all that stuff. State citizens are citizens of the United States of America. You're just not a citizen of the United States. Um, Q&A, Kelby said he writes something on his mail, anything that's addressed to him. Yeah, just stamp the mail. No such person exists at this address and return it on all first class mail. Junk mail won't get returned. So first class mail, people that send you bills, stamp it. No such person exists at this address. If it's from, and again, this is the hardest part of the living in the private is training your vendors. Okay. But it's really not that hard. You just get used to it. You just don't want to receive mail in your name. You want to receive mail in the foundation name. So anytime that happens, the vendor's going to call you and say, hey, what the heck? Well, you're going to say, I told you don't mail me anything in my name. Mail it to the name of the foundation. Well, we're going to need to send you stuff. No, you don't need to. You want to. If you want my business, you will send it in care of the foundation name. And it's no business or reason why that you need to know. Just do that or stop mailing me or we don't need a contract. I don't care. But, and also if you have the account in the name of the foundation, they should be mailing the account to the foundation name anyway. Um, and if you're putting an account in the name of the foundation, use a fictitious name, John Donovan, John Smith, John whatever. That all, hey, I have somebody that handles that for me. His name is John Smith. Can you make sure that da 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 in care of the foundation name? And so they'll put John Smith foundation name. Sometimes you'll see John Smith on the envelope with the foundation name on the envelope. And go to your UPS store and say, look, all kinds of weird names are going to come to this. I have multiple foundations, multiple names. I want everything that's mailed to this box number to be accepted by you guys. How much is that business? They're going to say $400, $500, $600 a year. Pay it. Okay. Just pay it. Why? From a jurisdictional position standpoint, it's very healthy. Period. Okay. Next question. Um, Also, Kelby mentioned he uses a fake name for Amazon deliveries. I do not use a fake name for anything. Did I hear that right? Nope. Would it be helpful for those overnight deliveries that you want to get ASAP? No, you just put it in the name of the foundation, any foundation name. You can make one up that doesn't make it fake. It's your real name for deliveries. That's not fake. Fictitious names are names that you have created for a specific purpose that allow for you to operate things through that name. This is what the federal government does all the time. I didn't say a fake name, but there is very much a difference. So for me, I have actual names I have created, foundation names that all mail comes to. I've even created the docs, which means it's not a fake name or even a fictitious name. It could be fictitious in the sense that I created it, but I backed it up with documents, opened up bank accounts and different things. So I'm not saying use a fake name, although you can create a name out of thin air and have something come to that name through Amazon, or you can have a foundation and something come to that foundation name through Amazon. Either way, you do not want to receive personal mail in the all capital letter name that is on your driver's license or on your social security card, where you are holding the office, getting that mail, and now all that somebody needs to do is go to the DMV to prove that point that you've registered something in that all caps name, or that you receive mail. The United States Postmaster will give an affidavit to somebody trying to get a warrant against you or an indictment against you. Look, I'm not saying this is going to happen to you, but this is what we did. We reverse engineered warrants and indictments. I'm trying to figure out how a corporation gets jurisdiction over real people. This is how you're holding an office that subjects you to being proving that they can show that you're holding the U.S. citizenship, and therefore you've agreed to the statutes, codes, and ordinances, which means you will be subject to those statutes, codes, and ordinances, which are policies enforced by a policy enforcement officer, police. David, just go ahead and ask your question. We don't allow people live because we only have so much time on these, and I got a lot of questions to get to. My apologies. Next question. For notification of my auto financing company, it asks on my pay stub if the mailing address changes, is the location of the actual auto loan changing? Do I mention that the location of the car is still my home address that lists that? Okay. So look, you have again, we're talking about not getting personal mail. Okay. Thanks, David. We're talking about not getting personal mail. That's all. Okay, so don't worry about getting telling people where your car is located. That's not the thing you need to freak out about, or changing that information on notification to, if you're telling people the car is now relocated and you're a payment behind, they're going to start looking for the car. The whole purpose of the whole mailing thing is just so that we don't receive personal mail, that they can't prove that we're holding the office of the artificial person, which is the all caps name. And yeah, it is an artificial person. It's an in legis trust. It's a corporation. It's whatever you want to call it, but um, it's artificial, meaning created. So yeah, again, don't worry about that. And then when you pay off the car, you're going to put it in a foundation name, and maybe even in another state. There's all kinds of things. Also, I've notice drafted to an attorney firm who fights my home value with the county for my property tax assessment. I don't have an account number. It's all based on my home property address. On the template, instead of account number, do I write for the property located at home address? Nah, that's all not, I mean, you can always do whatever you want to do, but again, um, there's going to come a point where you're not going to be talking about the property assessed value for the purposes of taxation, but you're going to be talking about the removal of the property from the county recorder. So that's maybe something you want to get more familiar with, or you're going to be talking about exempt status at the county recorder because it's been put into a foundation name. Question is, do I send a notice to the county tax assessor? What notice? I don't know that I've ever received mail from them, but I do assume with that same question, I state regarding the property located at address. No, just put the address, put the parcel number, and put the foundation name that you want all mail in care of the foundation name to any bill, including the county tax assessor, and let them know that the mailing is not the home address, but it's for the property at that address or that parcel number, but have it come to the foundation in care of your off-site address, your UPS store, or what have you. I guess one question is, I do not want to associate my home address and my name. I got it in the same way, 100%. Um, that's why you don't want the home in the name of the all caps name, number one. Number two, you don't want to even be associated to the home as being the represented party for the foundation. You just say, hey, man, all mail comes to the foundation name. Put the property into a recorded deed that's done properly, like our deeds at his advocates, where the foundation owns it in meets and bounds, fee simple, using gold, all the proper things that take away the jurisdiction of the United States from the deed. And so if you don't have that deed yet, you want to take a look at a template deed. You can go to hisadvocates.org and you can purchase it and we'll do it for you for $4.95. If you're living in the private member, we give you a template deed and you can just follow the instructions and post all the information to the deed, post the deed to your living in the private ticket. We will look at that to make sure it's dialed in and you can then record the deed and it's private. Okay. This question, this is for you, Joe. Guidance on your property tax for the house. Everybody wants to take step two, step three, ready, fire, aim, and instead of ready, aim, fire. So for you, even though you've had your house in the foundation, you've never noticed them of anything. You've never asked for from the county for anything. So why would you expect not to pay? You haven't changed the status of the type of entity that you are with the county. You haven't requested the county to stop trying to collect taxes, that you are a private unrecorded foundation, church ministry. You haven't done any of that. So you got to go to step one, which is aim, and then you can fire. Pay your taxes. Don't get delinquent on your taxes. And if you really want to go down that road, we can help you. It's not necessarily a part of the living in the private, but there's many people that we have walked through and helped. And there's a guy in my Ford, listen to me very carefully. There's a guy in my Ford who we have helped. He is a retired NFL Hall of Famer, and we've been able to get his property tax exempt. And he lives in a very large 30,000 square foot compound in a state very much like yours. And it was work. He didn't get this handed to him for free. He had to fight the county all the way. Why? Because it's $43,000 a year. Okay. So he's one of the guys that wrote a testimonial for our book, for his advocates book that we're coming out with this week. He's one of the guys that wrote a testimonial. So that's why I'm able to talk about him. But the bottom line, Joe, is you got to go ready, fire, aim. Practice doesn't work. Ready, aim, fire. You look down the hole, you get the sight on your target, you build up, you take a breath, you exhale, and you squeeze the trigger. That's how you do it. You got to make sure that you've done your notices, you've done your attempts, but until then, you pay your bills. And that way you don't get behind and nobody sends you any letters and you've done anything wrong. No, you didn't want to hear. I know you want to think the world is just going to lay down. Oh, he's got it in a foundation. Oh, he's tax exempt. Let him out. He doesn't have to pay any more taxes now. It's not the way it works. These guys are fighting us and fighting us and fighting us. All right, here we go. Next question. Same member. I'm switching my membership software that handles my billing as well. Here's what they need. I want to make sure that I'm giving them the proper information of the foundation. And the only thing on their end, it's listed, please respond with answers under the necessary lines. First answer, IRS letter showing legal name and federal ID number. You have that from us. We gave that to you. Owner's name, date of birth, home address, phone number. Uh, you're going to put your name, date of birth. No, you're going to put the address of whatever you're using for your foundation, phone number, email, equity percentages, none of your business. Anyone with 25% or more needs to provide this information. You're just going to put a testimony. I'm the only one that is on this account, but the equity interest is private and not public. Sales tax percentage on membership dues. The answer is 0. You cannot collect sales tax, Joe, as a foundation unless you want to contract with the state. And I would not want to contract with the state. A copy of a check or bank letter desired for a bank account to use, that's fine. Login to be used for the app membership spot. You know what to do there. Service fee on delinquent accounts, if applicable, $20, whatever. It's fine to charge if somebody's late because you're having to collect. The average amount is all that stuff. Anyway, hope that helps. That should be good. All right, let's get to some other questions over here. Um, Okay, ask the dead entity. Public servant says, "What God do you serve, public servant? You are duly noticed." Okay, so somebody's answering a question. If you are changing status and ending adhesion to contracts and you receive Social Security survivor benefits, how do you fix the status of Social Security office? Deborah, you just got to read our docs with Social Security. We're very clear. We're the equity rights. And as a survivor of a spouse who put in the time, the money, and the hard-earned sweat equity, you have a right to that. And so none of that changes when you do our Social Security docs. We just ask for certain things and we make sure they understand we are the beneficial interest, no longer the trustee of the trust, meaning the liability. And so anyway, I'm going up looking for questions. Don't you think the Zionists created XRP and control it from its inception? Maybe, maybe. Don't I think a whore created a whorehouse? For sure. Is that going to prohibit me from buying it and shutting it down and turning it into something good? Nope. Does that mean I'm not going to take that XRP that's going to 1000x and buy gold and homes and apartment units and buildings for people that have a need? It's not going to prevent me from doing any of that. Okay. I'm going to go to the Q&A. We have about 13 questions there. Shalom, Kelby. I'm employed by a defense contractor. I wanted to know your take on security clearances. I'm required to have a clearance for my occupation. From my understanding, only a U.S. citizen can possess it. Do you have any information or recommendations on this? Yeah, I do. Nick, we have a guy that is on staff that had security clearances all the way to the top. He wrote a foreword, he wrote a testimonial, and he is a part author of our book. He let his clearances go because he just didn't want to deal with it anymore. There is a time to which you get asked these questions. Um, you know, what is your opinion of this? What is your opinion? And you got to renew that clearance every 2 years. The question that you're being asked of, are you a citizen of the United States? It's if you're asking me if I'm a citizen of the United States of America, the answer is yes. Now, you would have one heck of a lawsuit if they were to remove your clearance because you made a statement that affirms what they're asking. It's the game that they play. No, I said of the United States. Well, isn't that the same as the United States of America? The answer is yes. I'm a citizen of the United States of America. What do you mean of the United States? Is that a different question? Why do you need me to be have allegiance to the United States and not to the United States of America? Isn't that what's written on the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution? That's really where you stay, and you're not going to have an argument for to keep your clearance. And you got to ask yourself, do you want to work for the United States? Sometimes there's a clearance, but you're doing it as a contractor. Sometimes there's a clearance and you're doing it as an employee. The employee is harder. The contractor is easier. The contract, you actually make 3 to 5 times the money. But you still got to do the clearance every 2 years or whatever it is for the respective position. So you just got to get around that one question. And I've never seen them find the paperwork that we do. So it's not like you're changing status, but you're really just saying, I'm no longer holding the employmentship of U.S. citizen. I'm now actually a citizen of the United States of America, which is only somebody that is a state citizen. So the state citizens originally, as our founders intended, were citizens of the United States of America. And so that's the only way and thing you have to get around in your mind. How do I address that? Because sometimes there is no formal interview. Sometimes there is a formal interview that comes with it. And sometimes, I've never had anybody find the paperwork that a member has done and then say, what about this? What about that? But I have had people do their paperwork wrong as American nationals instead of as state citizens. And see, state citizens have the law in support. American national doesn't. The term national under 8 USC 1101 821 is a trick from the United States, and it's U.S. code that basically makes you synonymous to a state citizen. So that trick is unfortunate, but it's very real. It was created with the intent and purpose of giving people something uh to you know make allegiance to. And unfortunately, it sounds a lot like a state citizen. 8 USC 1101 821 says a person that owes allegiance to a state. So you're thinking that's the proper designation and it was created by the United States. And then you go look at the true form and effect, and it was really something that was done to covertly trick people to make allegiance to. But the crazy thing is, all these American national affidavits that are out there, they all give allegiance to being an American national, but they give state citizenship recording case sites. I'm like, why are you going to give state citizenship cases, but say you're an American national? It's like two separate things. So you just got to get around that one question. But there are people that will live in that realm. But there's going to come a time where you're going to have to think for yourself, Nick, do I really want to do this for the rest of my life? And promote this and build this and keep answering these questions very coy, or am I going to make a clear stance and walk away? And coming out of that structural system, I'm not telling people to quit, but look, that is a bankrupted entity that is in receivership, that is owned by creditors known as the families. And they're really taking the people of the world and making them as the collateral. So you're really kind of helping and promoting that whole thing. Do with that what you will, but just know that we're all called to come out, and that's our work efforts, our sweat efforts, our donations, all that stuff. Next question. I lost 5K in Electronium, and why is XRP different? Yeah, I lost money in Electronium. XRP is different because it's the reserve currency for the world. Electronium doesn't have any contracts, any supporter systems. And I know it's not really what you want to hear. Um, we really haven't lost it yet until we've completely given up on it, unless Electronium's gone out of business. I still have some money in Electronium. Um, but I lost money in a lot of things, Glenn, a lot of things. And I've lost money in this. There's, you know, his advocates is a money pit. Is we do things for reasons. But if you look into XRP, you're going to find that it's very hard to lose money. As a matter of fact, if you've been in it for only 1 month, your gains are about 45%. If you've been in it for a year, your gains are 450%. So do with that what you will. To be the same thing in a year from now, 2 years from now, and way more. XRP is way different than Electronium. There's nothing even similar about those two. And XRP's got all the contracts with all the banks in the world already ready to go, and they're the only currency in the entirety of the world, cryptocurrency, that is known as a currency according to the Securities and Exchange Commission, because they spent 200 million fighting a battle with the SEC, all staged, all for a very specific reason. So there's a lot of things going on in the background that we don't understand. Just know this: they are the leaders of all digital, the way all digital assets are going to be moving. So anything that's going to be moving digitally is going to pass through these ISO coins, and many of these ISO coins are utilizing XRP as their bridge currency platform, and it's going to blow your mind at um, what kind of opportunity we're going to get. During the last Q&A, you mentioned that since you didn't have time, that you'd be taking the remaining LPP questions. We did that last Monday. We did it on Thursday. Last Thursday, we answered those questions. Can you turn the book into an audiobook via text to speech services? I don't know. Maybe. I'm sure you can take any MP3, but I don't know. I don't think we're going to be delivering an MP3, but there's people that I'm sure are going to be trying to do that out there. If one is thinking of applying for permanent disability, what to consider? Can a state of the union citizen qualify? You got to understand, Kathleen, you're not the person applying. You're the birth certificate is the one that's contracted to the state. Yeah, you are the living woman behind it. Yes, you're holding an office called U.S. citizen. Yes, you are the surety for the collateral against the nation, and the security is the BC. The point I'm trying to make is it's all in how you do the application. Okay, now look, we're trying to get away from needing the federal government for anything. That's just a reality. We want to become self-governed. So I always tell people that. And I always want people to know that. But I do know that people do have needs. And so it's in the way that you do the contract. Reach out to us for help if you need help with an application, okay? I am currently reading a book by Melvin Stamper, Fruit from a Poisonous Tree, recommended by you. Wondering if you've ever met him or collaborated with him on your journey and map out to state citizenship. Nope. Or the Republic, which you were involved in. Nope. Do you generally agree with all of his discoveries or conclusions and or recommendations? That's a broad question. I can't answer that because there's a lot that he talked about and a lot that he thought about. And I'm not going to give a general blanket statement on that. Maybe that'll be a book I read on our Thursdays and go over with people about thoughts through that. That would be a great idea. Good suggestion, actually. I just can't give a blanket answer on that. Is there any liability or exposure that you're aware of for parties signing dual witness forms? Just wanted to double check that. Parties signing our dual witness forms. Our meaning his advocates, like our foundation docs. Nobody's ever had any problem with that. They all get bank accounts, all get nobody. I don't know of any exposure. Why would you have exposure doing having a witness document? It doesn't make any sense. Maybe re-ask the question. I don't know. Maybe I'm not getting your question right. If a check is cashed out, but we haven't completed our IRS docs or the rest of our living in the private program, how should we handle it? If a check is cashed out, I assume that we donated the full amount to the foundation, and afterwards, do we submit the donation form in a standard IRS filing to pay off any remaining IRS balances before we send our IRS docs out? Or do we not even file and settle the remaining balance of the BC to the BC's account? Okay. So a 1040 form is like a check. And when you give them a 1040, you're giving them the opportunity to cash the check and make money. And people really don't realize, when the IRS is asking for money, it's just like a bank. They're asking for something they've already been paid on. Trying to prove that's a whole nother thing. But that's just a fact. So when they say they're wanting to set off the account, it's so they can go to the treasury and get paid on the forms that you've submitted. This is why the IRS loves to get you to sign the Form 56 and the different documents that give them the permission to do your 1040s for you and sign on your behalf. Um, I don't give IRS advice from a standpoint of how I will tell you what I would do. I would report all income that is income. Cashing a check is not income. Income is W-2 or a 1099 or a K-1. That's income. Something you've agreed to, something that hits your account or a check is not something necessarily that would be construed as income. I don't care, when a CPA says, "Oh, you get this check from here, it's income." It's not necessarily income. W-2, 1099, K-1s, those are income. Now, I know people say that all money gets all, CPOs say all money deposited to an account is income. That's not true. I'm only saying these things for you guys to consider. But if you want, and you're coming out and you put all of it on a 1040 and what Kelby would do is not write a single check, and I would reserve all my rights, and I'd make sure things were crossed out on that 1040, and I would put what is actually income, meaning something contracted to be paid, because it was 1099 or what have you. But 1099 to a foundation, there's no requirement for the foundation to even file a return. That's just period. But 1099 to an all caps name that belongs to the United States, that there might be a requirement to file a return. So file the return, let them get paid. But if it were me, I'd make sure I was closing the account properly on the IRS side for the all caps name. I would stop receiving 1099s or W-2s using the all caps name. I would stop my employment ship with my employer with a W-4, and I would change it to a W-8 BEN, non-resident alien, out of the jurisdiction of the United States. I just would do certain things lawfully and correctly so that I'm not putting myself or anybody else at risk. Next question. Today I noticed that the UPS is requiring two forms of IP ID. You just noticed that today? That's always with a hard address. It has to be done by the end of the month. Um, Joey, I've been noticed that 4 times, and I keep going to the mail and grabbing my mail and going home. Stop it. Stop it. Yeah, again, Glenn, there's not 60 million XRP or 60 trillion XRP coins. I don't know where you got that number. It's 100 billion. And they are running out, and it's going to be the greatest thing in the world when they run out for you if you own it. Next question. Have you personally had any success with exploring taking out loans against digital assets through any platforms or services yet, such as Avayi, yet for purposes of not selling asset protection? John, I'm looking at all kinds of that stuff right now. I have not done any of that yet because I'm just not ready to. The returns aren't enough for me to go and borrow against, you know what I mean? But there's a half a dozen companies I'm exploring, and I hate to say this, John, but I'm probably going to go with one of the big boys like BlackRock, if that were to happen. Otherwise, um, I'm not going to be selling XRP. I'm looking at alternative options to be able to maintain and have that and explore returns with smart contracts that I don't need to actually give up 100% possession on of the XRP. But it's all based on a smart contract, which means upon the completion of the contract, I get the XRP back into my holdings. So I'm looking at some different options as well, like that. Okay. One moment, please. In applying for jobs online, when one must choose their citizenship, you choose United States because there's no other options. Okay, so basically your question is, how do you give them proper notice in the event that you feel like that's going to come back against you at some point later? It's pretty simple. At the end of your journey in the living in the private, we give you a template letter that you can do a notice letter, and it's something very simple. Um, I just wanted to let you know that when I was applying for my job with you, that I had to checkbox United States citizen. I just want you to know I am a super proud American and citizen of the greatest nation of the world, the United States of America. And I just really want this attached permanently as a permanent part of my record so that you understand just how proud I am. Whatever. It's just they're gonna think, they're gonna call you up, Kathleen, why did you send us this letter? And just say, let's just put it in my record. I'm proud. I'm just a proud American. I just want you guys to be aware of it. And that's really what a state citizen is. It's a citizenship of the United States of America. Next question. Could you articulate again why you have included that tiny stamp you use the ARR under your non-assumptive signature? I wouldn't use that tiny stamp under a non-assumptive signature. I would only use that stamp where I would be signing on a document that I want to protect my interest on. And sometimes, if I'm doing something with any, like on my passport docs automatically come with that signature on. I'm always going to reserve my rights on anything that I'm mailing to the federal government, whether my docs or their docs. If it's their docs and I don't get the opportunity, I'm doing a digital signature at a DMV, I'm going to sign down a subset in cursive. Um, but that's really it. I'm using that under a living man signature with the word by in front of my name if Kelby Smith in all caps is on the application. Hope that helps. How do you fix status with Social Security office if you receive SS survivor benefits? I already addressed that question. I currently buy product. Well, if you don't feel I answered that question, we do with the Social Security Administration, we correct the status as a state citizen. We move you from being the surety and the collateral as, or what's known as the trustee of that trust, the employmentship, that's your employer ID number for the United States, into a position of beneficial interest. We do three docs. The notice of non-response with the opportunity to cure, and a notice of default. That is a completed court of record and a new agreement as you know it. Now that agreement at the very end goes into an active state, filed into the public, and then we serve them constructive notice of the new status, the corrected record. Hope that helps. Next question. I currently buy product from China through Alibaba and resell. Do you have a form letter I can give them explaining my tax exempt status? Also the same for PayPal. Yeah. If you are a living in the private member, we do have that form for you. Just go ask on the back office. Have you released your book this week? Jeff, I'm very excited. Very much coming. Get this, there's an Electronium 2.0. Okay. I don't know about that. I'm not behind Electronium anymore. I only spent $600, so if I can get my money back from Electronium, I would. I just haven't had the time to do it. I do know that what I spent, I think I bought it at 1 cent or 2 cents. I don't know what it's worth right now, but I don't even keep it in my portfolio because I have no idea what it's worth. I'm just hoping they get anything right. You know what I mean? How do you swap Electronium to XRP? Somebody tell me that. I have it at Electronium on there, so it would cost them to move it off their servers, and I don't think they have any money left. Uh, I sound like an investment banker. Why is XRP different than the Zionist banking system? I thought I answered that. Then you think, is God's law universal law? You cannot get wealthy from the back of others. You must produce wealth via intellectual efforts, betterment of society. Glenn, you must be a wealthy man. You got it all figured out, you know? So I guess everybody in the world can't use money that man created to create wealth for the benefit of God. You're sounding kind of putting yourself in a corner there, buddy. I think the wealth of everything in this world was paid for by the cross. So anything that we're using within this world, whether digital or physical, if we use it for the glory of God, that will be the judgment. That will be what we're judged on. So we need to stop thinking about what it is we're using to gain wealth for God, because we can't own anything. Only He can own it. He paid for it on the cross, Revelations 5. But if we are the fiduciary and we're using it for the glory of his works, why are you battling that? If I get an IRS bill, I can write no such person exists and send it back. You can. I wouldn't contract with the IRS. So you're basically saying XRP is a fancy form of fractional reserve banking. No, it's not what I'm saying. XRP's valuation has to come about when money starts moving through its system. So the valuation of the XRP currency will have to gain traction in value. Fractional reserve banking was a completely different system set between the banks and the treasury based on the amount of money the treasury or the banks held in trust. The banks were able to get money from the treasury to loan. This is something completely different. Next question. They would let us get our mailbox without this identification. They made me a final notice with no original notice. They said they just found out. Yeah, Joey, I have not even addressed them or answered. Nobody wants to lose a customer. Just say, oh yeah, I'll get it to you. Keep coming, keep going back. Keep collecting your mail. Um, if you didn't create XRP, you don't control it. 100% agree. 100% agree. But if I have it on a hard wallet, I do, for the most part. If you're changing status and ending adhesion contracts and you receive Social Security survivor, okay, so you don't ask these questions twice, people. You ask them on one side and you ask them on another. Just ask them on one side, please. Um, okay, I don't own it and I'll never claim it. Here's your trap. What's the trap? And no one in the LPP owns their name. We never try to claim it. We understand it's the name and not ours. Thank you, John. John, appreciate you. Can anyone create a foundation be under your foundation, or how does that work? Can anyone create? Anybody can create a foundation. They just need to know how, and they need to know what to do with the IRS. And it's just our experience of what we do and how we do it. And we are creating basically churches. It's our creation, completely separate. You're on your own. Uh it's just something that we're vetting because we're doing statements of faith. Can we continue this conversation offline? What conversation? Glenn, are you in the LPP? All this information is in the docs. Thank you, John. I have a great deal of respect for you. Why do you? And I am Batman. I'm afraid God placed us in this maze. Wake us up. Jesus is a parable. He's not real. Okay. Knights and Templar. That's okay. Jesus is historically sound as an actual living person. He was a living person. He was fully God and fully man. Thank you, John, for having wisdom. There's a couple guys arguing in the chats. We're talking back and forth. All right, I don't see questions, so I'm gonna go over to the YouTube. Um, Steve's asking, you mentioned a couple weeks ago you purchased XRP coins. Where do you recommend? How's it done? Wallet, safety, and trust and trustworthy. So look, Steve, digital currency, at the beginning of this Q&A, I was kind of talking about how the La Cosa Nostra, the guys, the street gangs of the world, have to create kind of like this, even though they're murderers, even though they go and they steal the wealth of the people, the local community, and different things. At the same time, they have a rule system, and it's the same thing with the structural leaders of not leaders, banking cartel. It's the same thing that they have done with ISO 20022 compliant currencies. It's their way of managing the world. It's their way of making sure that everybody within the world is is working on a certain plane, and that they're not all going to steal from each other. All these families at the very top of the world are going to steal from each other. And it's their way to make sure that they can all maintain their wealth, keep their wealth, and keep the low guys down at the very bottom and ultimately become paupers and not being able to move without identification and different things like that, which is all the stuff that we've heard about for years. Um, you can purchase crypto through any exchange. You want to get it off the exchange and put it on a hard wallet that's encrypted where you control the 20 words for it's called a password recovery phrase, a seed phrase. In the event that you lose the hard wallet, you want the 20 words. Now, look, I've talked about this a lot. You want to not put the 20 words. You don't want to get a wallet that they create the 20 words. You want to get a wallet where you create the 20 words. You don't want to put the 20 words on your phone. You don't want to put it in a Word document on your computer. It's going to be a piece of paper somewhere that you keep very private. I can't tell you what I did or what you should do, but you need to create a system for yourself because that's like getting access to the bank account in case you lose the bank account. So you have the bank account, which is your hard wallet where you can make purchases from. And remember something that all these guys at the top, they got to create a system that is manageable, integral from the standpoint that they can't steal each other's wealth and where they can manage the money of the world. And yes, XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, ISO or ISO coins, um, just some of them, and they will all be very, very, very profitable. And people that don't want to get involved, they don't have to. They can go buy their gold, they can go buy their silver. They're not going to 1000x like these ISO coins. It is very much believed by not just myself, by major institutions that have done the math of what it's going to take to move the money around the world and how much the valuation of these currencies is going to have to be. So, like Bitcoin, when everybody said there's no way Bitcoin is ever going to be $100, it got to $100. No way Bitcoin will ever hit $1,000. It got to $1,000. No way Bitcoin will ever hit 100,000. It's at 100 and whatever thousand. And yes, it's 50% increase year over year. And I think Bitcoin's a trap personally. One day that's going to collapse. That's just my personal opinion based on what billionaires are saying, not what I'm saying. But I don't think XRP is. And I think if you can get XRP and you can put it on a cold storage device and you can maintain and you don't tell anybody about it and you can keep your mouth shut, not spread the information to the world, I think you're going to be a very successful person. Just use it for the glory of God. That's all I ask. But uphold.com, it's an app on your phone. Kraken, Coinbase. The trick is you want to get it off your phone, you want to put it on to a hard wallet that is owned and controlled by your foundation. You want a foundation for the purposes of being tax exempt, even though Trump says everything is going to be tax exempt on cryptos. Double indemnify yourself because that's not true today. Okay. And the IRS wouldn't believe that. And listen, guys, whatever Trump is saying about abolishing the IRS, that might be true, but there's a new system coming. Guys, you got to indemnify yourself and you got to get out. Trump can't bring the republic back for you. You have to go into republic for yourself. And that's even including the style in the which you have done your business and how you conduct yourself and whether or not it's income to you or income to a foundation which has no requirement to file a return. John, get him. We must lust after John. We must lust after wealth and continually reincarnate here because we're good, Glenn, bro. Bro, Glenn, you don't have to be here, man. Here, I'm gonna help you out. Glenn, you can just leave. There you go. I helped Glenn out. He doesn't want to be here. He doesn't have to. Um, we lust after wealth. No, we don't. I've been very well to do for a very long time. I don't lust after anything. It can come and go. I've been broke. I have been rich. It doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is I hear when my face is being held by Jesus at the end of days that I hear, well done, good and faithful servant. I don't care about money. I don't care about money. And you got to know that. And you got to know that there's a lot of people out there that want to just fight and believe in their own way. Go for it. Believe. You don't need to argue that. I was just making this point this morning on the VIP call. Stop arguing with everybody. We can all have different opinions. You don't need to call me names. The word lust doesn't even exist in a lot of different respects from a biblical format standpoint. People don't even understand the word fornication doesn't even exist from a lot of biblical interpretation formats. Now, I'm not saying what you think I'm saying. Just know this. We don't need to fight over everything. We can all get along. You can live the way that you want to live. I want to live the way I want to live. I think Jesus was really here. I do believe he did die on a cross. I do believe he was raised from the dead on the third day. I don't care about which day is Sabbath. I'm going to do my best to honor God on the Sabbath. I'm going to do my best to bring myself to an account before the Lord in prayer and service and koinonia with fellowship with my brothers. I'm going to bring myself to an account underneath my brothers. I'm going to do whatever it takes so I hear those words. That's all that matters to me. So go and fight whatever you want to fight, claim whatever you want to claim. I don't care. There's a lot of people out there alone fighting the wrong people, and that's after a while you just start sounding like an agent for either Satan. I heard an old adage, you know what, the best thing that Satan ever did was to get people to believe he doesn't exist. And I think very much to the contrary, he does exist. And I think there's a physical being there. And I think that there's a spiritual being there. And I think he's going to be bound to the Abuso for 1,000 years. And I think Jesus is coming. He's going to reign here on this earth 1,000 years. I don't just think it, I know it prophetically. I know it. And this is one of those things we don't need to argue about. If I'm wrong, okay. It was my belief. It's okay. I don't think I'm going to be wrong. There isn't a single prophetic in the Bible that hasn't come true about the birth, death, and resurrection of Christ. So I'm going to believe it all the way through. And trust me, I've looked at a lot of the different Bibles and the things to which a lot of churches teach. I don't need to agree 100%. It doesn't matter what this pastor says or doesn't say. I'm going to take it into account. I'm going to thank him for his time and his blessing of trying to study the way that he did. But I'm not going to make him and I'm not going to blast him and put him on notice and all this stuff and just cause this hate. Stop. Stop. This is why the world sucks to live in is people like that guy. That's why. We can't just all get along. I don't care. You're a homeless devil worshiper. I don't care. I'm going to love on you, feed you, and show you what it means to be a Christian. I used to think differently. I used to not like devil worshipers. Now I pray for them. Now I pray for my enemies, like the word always said all along. Isn't that crazy? We just obey the word. It'd just be so much simpler. Anyway, let me go down, see if I got any others. Other questions. XRP is just fuel for stable coins like real USD, 100%. Um, Thank you, Kathy. All right. I don't really see any more questions. So, God bless the haters. know, uh, the more I preach it, the more trolls come out. I love it. I love it. Look, um, for the purposes of just disclaimer, disclosure, uh, I'm a man of faith. I believe in the risen Savior, Yeshua, Jesus. Um, and there is only one way. And I think that religion was started to make men fall. Not to say all people in all religions are going to hell or whatever that means. But I do believe that, we're all going to be really surprised when this is all said and done. And you look at what all religions teach, and you look at how gracious our God is. And I think everybody at some point in their life is going to get an opportunity to find the truth and discover it for themselves. So God bless, man. But let's stop arguing about it and let's make this happen. Let's let's realize what we have here. That guy to your right, that Arab that is a Muslim worshiper, whatever, freaking love on the guy. We've been blasting their countries for 25 years. Okay? They have a lot of reason to hate our guts. And they got a pretty damn good plan. They're being used by the Zionist system as the enforcement arm. They don't know that stuff. They don't understand all that. They just want to believe what they want to believe. But why don't we show them the love of Christ? What to aspire to. They might look at that as weakness, but I'm going to guarantee there's coming a time where there's going to be somebody crying on your shoulder and you're going to show them that love and they're going to convert 100%. All other religions are allowed to lie, cheat, and steal just to get what they want. You're not allowed to do that as a Christian. All other religions force their way, talk about their superiority, not ours, not our faith. We're the inferior in strength. All other religions are taught just weird, whatever. Christians are taught to love. We're not taught to hate. But I'm going to tell you something. We're being taught wrong by most of the churches today in a few principles. And if you ever see a wicked person, you're not taught to turn the other cheek when they have struck you. That is a simple verse that is completely misunderstood. If you see innocence, you're not taught to step over them or to not help them or turn the other cheek. You're to be a man and stand up and support them and help them at any and all costs. There is a believing way of being a Christian or a believer that is strength, that is honor and honorable and above reproach without being a punk, sissy, lala, girly girl with every excuse in the world why you're not going to enter the competition and get into the game. And there's a lot of Sunday to Sunday believers that will not be blessed like the guys that step into holy fight for the battle of good and evil and present good in a form that makes the evil want to convert. Paul was a murderer. All these guys that were feared and used all had problems. They all had lives that were misdirected before, and then God had to take a long time on Paul before Paul got released. Nobody wanted to believe in what Paul was or who he was, and then they didn't want to believe that he was a man of faith. They thought he was an infiltrator, a guy on the inside working for the Romans now. Paul was a Roman. Guys, that's like a Fed. It's like an FBI agent. I'm sorry. I have FBI agents retired that are friends. I'm sorry. They're not all bad. They even think the ones that are retired don't really think much about the current FBI, and I don't blame them, especially when you're a criminal like Comey. But guys, look, that's like having an FBI agent in your fold, you know, saying I'm converted. Hey, I had an epiphany, But you know what? What did Paul turn into? Was Paul always right? No. Paul believed in a lot of things for himself that didn't come true, but Paul gave an incredible gospel or gospels. And he was a wicked man at one point in his life. And you know what? He got punished for it. He probably got taken down the street and just like every other Roman that was found in judgment, head cut off. Anyway, guys, look, let's stop fighting. You can believe whatever you want. I don't care. You have no proof Jesus didn't exist. You have no proof of, I do have proof of Jesus's existence. It's written in the word, and it's written outside of the word. It's very much real. As a matter of fact, most people that have done this research would find and tell you the truth that the gospels are undeniable fact that could be brought into any court and prove unequivocally to be true. That's what we have. So God bless you. God bless the haters. God bless the trolls. I stand firmly on this ministry being firmly sounded on one risen Savior and one only. And I will not look to anybody else. It's the Father and the Son that and their Holy Spirit that has been invested and imparted into me. And I don't need to understand everything, and I don't need to weigh it against everybody, and I don't need to say I'm right and you're wrong. But my opinion is my opinion, and it doesn't mean we don't need to get along. Let's just stop the hate. Let's bring it together. Because, guys, that's what they're using against us. We're getting played. Every IG, Instagram, every Facebook, we're all getting played. We're all being told to hate one another, hate the Jews, hate the Israelis, hate the Zionists, hate the blacks, hate the whites, hate. We're all being taught to hate, man. I'm so fed up with that. I really am. I don't hate white people. I don't hate black people. I don't hate the Asians. Even though I can't see their eyes. I want to see their eyes. That's a funny. Okay, everybody calm down. I don't hate anybody. And I think we all need to get around what the propaganda is. The propaganda is that we all hate each other. And as soon as we get around that and we start accepting the belief system of somebody else, and that's the hard part about, some of these faiths is if you don't accept their faith, according to their book, that's punishable by death. And you know what? Sad to say, I will fight to the death for my faith. And I don't think I'm going to need to die. I think the finished work on the cross and what's going to happen in this world over the next several years, I think we're all going to be seeing a lot of crazy stuff. And I think there's going to be some relevance of extinction level events, outer world level events, things you're going to see. And it's all going to try to take your focus off of what we know to be firm and sound and true. Don't get ripped off. Just know that. And I've been talking about the truths of what is potential. And I think we're right there on the cusp. We're going to see things that are crazy. And it's only been in the last few years. Extraterrestrials have been talked about as real. And we don't need to discuss that, what that is or who that is. But the NSA, NASA, all these entities, these agencies are talking about that stuff as being real. Well, something's about to hit. And there's a world event that's going to make people go, "Ooh, it's not just biblical. It is what it is." But God bless you guys. Don't sweat the small stuff. Don't let trolls bother you. When somebody bugs you, just smile. I'm telling you right now, if you focus on people like this guy, that's just a hater or whatever he is. If you focus on that, just love on him. Don't let him get under your skin. Just we can control it. We can shut them up. We can get them out of the event. We don't need to listen to their narrative. This is my narrative. This is my event that you guys are here to listen to. So I can control that, but don't let people bug you. Not for 1 minute, because it's we're not going to let ourselves get robbed anymore. We're going to come together as one, and we're going to really raise up. Look, next few days, please, book's coming out. I promise you. We're meeting the guys tomorrow on this. I'm going to finish this up. God bless you. I'm going to need your help. I'm going to ask you all for some certain support and help in this regard. Let's get it done. Let's get it out, and let's start letting people know the truth worldwide. God bless you. If you have any more questions, send them to the support ticket at his advocates, support at hisadvocates.org. It's an email. We'll get your questions added to the next Monday's Q&A. I completed all the questions for this week, so I'm not going to do any additional Q&A on Thursday. So I'll be back Monday, 4 p.m. Pacific. If I can't get to all the questions, I do another Q&A on Thursday at 4 p.m. to get everybody dressed. Been 2 hours. Have a great night. Enjoy your wife. Go give her a big fat kiss. Go do whatever you got to do. Make life good for you and your family. And just know no matter what happens, we're good. We've already won this game. He's still sitting on the throne.